Hello and welcome to the program. Today we are going to discuss about a very important aspect of one of the program which is offered by School of Education, that is postgraduate diploma in pre-primary education. We have a theoretical as well as a practical component, and today in this session we are going to discuss about the practical component, nature, and how you can complete that practical component, which is an essential part of the program. To discuss this, along with me, my colleague, Professor Shuttappa Bose, will also be there with us, and we will be highlighting some key aspects of the practical component and also how to go on with the practical component. Professor Shuttappa Bose, I welcome you to the program.
Namaskar.
So, this particular program, that is PG Diploma in Pre-Primary Education, it is a one-year program, and the program is meant to develop the skills and aptitudes, and even it helps you to understand the preschool education system in India and how can we make effective teaching learning process in the preschools. In the preschools, we all know that the preschool years are very important year. They are the foundational years of learning. So learning in this particular during this tenure of the learning, it is important that the learning, whatever learning which we are providing to the children, it has to be very enjoyable, and at the same time the learner must be engaged in the learning. For this to happen, we have to make sure that the learning is joyful and it involves all the learners in the process of learning. If you look at the slide, you would find that this particular program is of total of 32 credits. In IGNOU, one credit is equal to 30 hours, 30 instructional hours. That means which includes the entire time which you will spend on reading a particular content. So, this program is of 32 credits. 16 credits goes to the theoretical component and 16 credit goes to the practical component, which makes practical component having a equal weightage to that of the theoretical component. The duration of the program is 1 year, but as per IGNOU policy, we provide flexibility to the learners to complete the programs in the maximum duration of 3 years. So, for example, if you take admission now, that is for January 2023 session, then your admission is the admission is valid till say June 2025. That is 3 years of your 2026, not 2025, 2026. So your admission is valid for 3 years. The medium of instruction of the program is English. However, as per the university policy, you may write your assignments as well as your term and examinations in Hindi. And eligibility to the program is graduation. So it will be graduation in any discipline. So there is no bar on that there is no specificity which has been attached to it. Any graduate can apply for this program. Another important aspect is the admissions. The admissions to the program, again as per IGNOU policy, they are open for both for January as well as July session, so that we have 2 admission cycles. For now, the admissions for January sessions are going on, so you may visit IGNOU website and you may encourage your other friends and colleagues, whosoever wants to do it, to visit IGNOU website to get admission into the program for the January 2023 session. Now, if I come to the fees of the program, it is usually decided as per IGNOU policy, so that is why we have not mentioned it. However, you will get the details about the fees once you fill up the forms. Now, as I said in the starting, this particular program is a combination of theory as well as the practical. The theory component has got 16 credits, and these credits, 16 credits, are divided into 4 compulsory theoretical courses, and we have assigned codes to each one of the course. So for this particular program, we have 4 courses, that is MES 081, which introduces you to the preschool education. It helps you to understand what is the nature of preschool education, how it has developed, and what is the present state of preschool education. The course number 2, that is MES 082, it highlights the important developmental dimensions of the early childhood, and the course is titled as Human Development During Early Childhood. So, this course basically covers all the aspects of human development, that is the development in all the areas, which is social, cognitive development, emotional development, so on and so forth. So this particular course highlights the importance of important developmental characteristics in these dimensions. Then another course, MES 083, talks about principles of childhood education, which again focuses on that what are the current practices which are there in the preschool education and how we must make the preschool education enjoyable, and wherein the student comes and enjoy the entire process of learning. So this particular course basically focuses on this. Now the last course, this is MES 084, it talks about practices in modern preschool education. This course has various dimensions have been covered in this course. Majorly it talks about that what are the current practices of the preschool education, how a teacher can create an ideal learning environment in school. And since this particular program is also mentioned important for the preschool administrators and managers, so therefore in this particular course we have tried to highlight about how to establish preschool by creating a good physical infrastructure, and what should be the ideal physical infrastructure, which in turn will lead to the overall development of the child. And all these 4 courses are of 4 credit each, which makes a 16 credit for this particular theoretical component. Now the last course, again it is a compulsory course, that is the practical project component, which is a practical component of the program. And this particular project, again it is of 16 credit. Now, if we go into the details of this particular project, we have developed a practical manual, and that is MES 085P, and here the P stand for practicum. So we have a project manual for this, and you are expected to go through that project manual. There are various activities which have been listed, and those activities have been listed into 4 blocks, which I will come to it later on. Now all these programs, this program, as we've been seeing, that it has the practical as well as the theoretical component. So it is important that you have to complete both the aspects of this program in order to complete the entire program to get the certification. Let me now talk about the details about what basically this practical component has and how does our project handbook look like. So if you look at the screen, you will find that the project practical has actually 4 blocks. It has been divided into 4 blocks, and all these activities which are listed in all these 4 blocks are taken from all the core courses, that is MES 081 to MES 084. So activities are we have tried to list the activities, derived the activities from these theoretical courses. So if you look at the block 1 of the practicum component, the block 1 talks about knowing the learner. But here only a preliminary exploration of the child behavior is aimed at. In this particular block, only you are expected to observe the child, and this observation has to go on for 5 consecutive days, and you have to simply observe the child behavior and note down in a naturalistic setting. This details about how to conduct it will be discussed by my colleague Professor Shutapa Bose. And next block, that is block number 2, it is basically an extension of the first block itself. First block only had talked about the preliminary exploration. The second block, it is meant to employ the advanced methods and techniques to understand the learners. Basically, there are many case studies which you have to do, and those case studies would require you to observe the child much more deeply, and you have to go in and understand the other aspects of child development, and those will be detailed out later on. The block number 3 of this practical component, it talks about changing the learner, that is the developmental activities and practices. Here, you have to choose the activities and basically conduct those activities which will help in accelerating learning in the preschools. There are different types of activities which have been listed. You are expected to choose those activity and implement it in the preschool and observe the changes, or even what are the different how you have executed it, what are changes you have observed, that you have to write down in your practical handbook. And the fourth block of this particular practicum component, that is changing learners and changing oneself. Again, it talks about the advanced practices. It talks about different dimensions of learning, that is language readiness, mathematical spatial learning, then musical and rhythmic learning. So specific aspects of learning and how you are expected to choose a particular activity which will help the child to accelerate into these areas. So those activities have been listed, and you have to choose those activities amongst from the various activities which are available. Then there are other one important component of this particular practicum component which has been listed in the last, that those are the records. So while you will be submitting the practical to the regional center, you are expected to, because you will be conducting those activities, you have to record also certain things, like you'll have to do a number of you have to prepare a number of a picture book, maybe a first aid box, and those activities are listed. So along with these activities which you have done, you have to also submit these records while you will be submitting it for the evaluation. So let us now discuss about in detail about the activities which you are supposed to be doing, for which I have just given you an overview. So let us begin with block 1. I request Professor Shutapa Bose to highlight the activities which are being covered in block 1 of this practical component. Professor Shutapa Bose.
Thank you. Before we get into the details of the activities comprising the various blocks, I would like to share with you something which is really important. From your queries and over phone, as well as from your emails, what we gather is that students of this program often are confused regarding the need for a supervisor. Many students call us and ask us whether a supervisor is required for carrying out the project. Well, the answer is no. It is also mentioned in the description of the program at IGNOU's website, and nowhere the project manual, the practical manual, requires you to go for a supervisor. You just don't need a supervisor. This is one thing, something very important. And apart from that, another thing which is equally important is that there are questions like, Madam, should we submit a proposal first, a synopsis? No. Again, the answer is no. You don't need to submit a proposal, nor is a synopsis required. What you have to do is that you need to read the practical manual at least twice. So this is my advice to you. And students also say that, well, at study centers, we have been told that it is essential to have a supervisor, and it is essential to write a synopsis, get the synopsis approved, and after that start the practical work. This is not true. Please don't believe in such rumors and half-truths. Read the practical manual thoroughly and start doing the activity on your own. The supervisor is embedded within the practical manual. And as far as a synopsis, it's not required because we have a bouquet of activities and you are supposed to be carrying out the activities. Therefore, and there are also guidelines for carrying out the activities, developing the report, and you need to submit the report to the regional center. This is the third important thing. Students often ask, where should I submit the project report or the practical activity report? Well, you must submit it only and only to the regional center. Please do not submit it elsewhere, not even to the study center, not to the headquarter. Submit it only to the regional center. But before you submit it to the regional center, please take some precautions. What are these? Number one, be sure to retain a photocopy of the activity reports, or rather the file that you prepare, or if you are using the project manual itself. The artifacts that you prepare, you must have a copy of it. You must retain a copy of it. This is the first advice or suggestion rather. The second thing is that be sure to include a covering note. Do not send the practical report without a covering note. How will you prepare the covering note? What should you include? What should you mention? The first thing is your contact details. Your address, your postal address, your phone number, your email ID. Apart from that, the information that would help the university to identify you. What's that? Apart from your name, which goes without saying, you definitely mention your enrollment number. Be sure to mention your enrollment number, and while you do so, please carry out a proofreading of the information that you provide, especially of your enrollment number. A wrong enrollment number would invalidate your project report. So these are some of the necessary things which you must remember. The third thing that you must include in your covering note is that apart from your contact details and your enrollment number, the third thing is that you must request that your viva should be held at the earliest. There are questions like, Madam, is it necessary for us to travel all the way to the regional center in order to take the viva? Well, the answer could be yes or it could be no. That's because it depends on the regional center that has admitted you to the program. Earlier, in the pre-pandemic stage, students had to go to the regional center and there would be an in-person viva. During the pandemic, during the lockdown, the viva was online. In the post-pandemic stage, some of the regional centers are continuing with the practice of online viva. If you have genuine problems in traveling to the regional center, you may request them for an online viva. But we don't guarantee you that your request would be acceded. So these are some of the instructions that would help you in clearing the confusion that you have regarding where to submit the project report. Well, the answer is the regional center. How to submit it? Well, after keeping a photocopy and after including a covering note. These are some of the general instructions. Now coming to the blocks.
So, Shutapa,
1 minute. One minute. Before we take up individual activities, and before I forget, I would like to share with you something which is very important for carrying out these activities. The first thing is you have been asked to carry out observations. And the second thing is that you would be required to carry out interviews. Well, these two methods are common to qualitative methods. These are qualitative methods of collecting data. We would not get into the details of it, but how to carry out an observation. Well, there are certain guidelines, and you must remember that during data collection phase, whether you are carrying out an observation or an interview, the first and foremost task that would be required of you is that try to establish a rapport with the participants. Who are the participants? Well, participants or subjects are the children or within the setup within which you would be carrying out data collection. Try to establish a rapport so that children are used to your presence. If you visit the site on a few occasions, children would get used to your presence and they would not mind your being present while they carry out the activities, and this is what you are supposed to be do in a naturalistic setup. The second thing is that while you carry out an interview, do not be judgmental. Do not make comments on what they say or what you observe. Just note down. So these are some of the important tips which would make data collection fruitful. Now these are some of the general instructions. Before I start detailing out the activities, I would request Professor Vandana to say what she wanted to say. Yes.
No, I just wanted to add one more thing. There are often many queries which are received by the students, received by us from the student side, that whether the activities has to be completed in the handbook or should we prepare a separate file. That is the question which is often being asked. And another question is ki whether it has to be handwritten or can we type it down. So the answer for this is that we have actually provided the space in the practical handbook itself. But in case if you feel that you need some more space, you may add papers, attach papers, additional papers in the handbook itself. And it has to be handwritten. Only these things also you have to keep in mind while you will be submitting. Apart, and for the artifacts, you need to add on the things properly, cover it up, and then you send it to the regional center. Otherwise, in between, sometimes they get misplaced. So now I request Mr. Shutaba Post to detail out the activities.
Well, I would also say that spiral binding would be helpful. You could prepare it in the form of a file. You could file the papers that you include. Now coming to the details of the activities, I shall cover the activities of the first block, knowing the learners. Professor Vandana has already given you a cursory idea about the block, what it is about and why it is important. Well, the first activity, the activities have been referred to as units. Please do not confuse this with the units of SLM. Well, the first activity would require you to observe and record child behavior in preschools. Well, you see that the activity is quite generic in nature. You can devise or you can design the observation in order to specify what you are going to observe, or maybe you would be observe several things: how they learn, how they interact with each other, how they speak, how they communicate, how they play. But remember, whenever you are carrying out an observation, the question that you try to answer should be in terms of how. You should be answering the how question. The second activity is observation and recording of weaning period. What is weaning? Well, weaning literally means weaning from from the diet that mother was providing in the form of mother's milk. But this has a larger meaning as well. Weaning means separation from mother. When the child steps out of the home and into the precincts of a preschool, she is no longer with her mother. How does she behave? We know from our experiences that the children usually are not very happy being away from their mother. So what sort of behavior are they exhibiting? It could be in terms of food, whether they are willingly having the food provided by the nursery school or kindergarten or maybe an Anganwadi, or the food that they bring with them, and also their adjustment to the school environment, social adjustment, emotional adjustment, as well as physical environment adjustment. What is physical adjustment? How comfortable are they? So these are the criteria or dimensions along which you need to carry out observations for the second unit. The third is about the post-weaning behavior. Within a period of time, within maybe a short phase, or for some children it could be a longer phase, children would have adjusted, they would have calmed down, and they would have been better adjusted to the school environment. or the Anganwadi environment. So how are they behaving now? Actually, for Unit 2 and Unit 3, this could be a comparative study. And after that, you need to observe and record the behavior of children when they are assigned simple tasks, which could be like linked to numeracy, which could be linked to functional literacy, and things like that. And you should also visit children's home, especially those who have some special who are special children, and you should talk to their parents, their siblings, and try to find out more about them. Well, this is again a generic activity, and you can devise what exactly you're going to find out. And you need to maintain a health diary: how often the child falls ill, whether the child has some chronic ailment, whether the child is allergic to certain things, and things like that. So with this, we now come to block 2, and I would request Professor Vandana to detail out the activities.
Again, as I had already discussed, the activities have been derived from the compulsory courses, and this particular block, that is block 2, it talks about knowing the learner. Basically, it talks about using the advanced method to understand the learner. So, what are those advanced methods? Here, mostly the method which we are hinting at is the case study. So, out of the four listed activities which are listed as unit 1, 2, 3 and 4, these are activities basically. Out of these four activity, you need to choose any one of them, and for carrying out a case study you need to devote a time, because in a case study an element of typicalness is involved. That means a case study, when does a particular individual becomes a case of studying, when that particular individual or an instance has some unique characteristics. So typically, out of these four, activities, you need to choose any one activity and have to carry out the case study. So let us go on to the block number 3, that is changing learners and developmental activities and practices. This basically involves all those activities which help the students in accelerating the learning readiness. It also requires you to conduct certain activity which will help in the sense training, which will help in the better understanding of the concepts. So all those the activities which you will be performing in the preschool have to be documented and have to be put up in this particular block. And another, the last block, that talks about the specific aspect, as I had already hinted, that particular specific aspect like musical rhythmical learning and reasoning and problem solving. So activities related to that are also being discussed there, you need to carry out. And there is an action research also component which you need to carry out in this particular block. And lastly, it talks about maintaining the records, and those records could be in the form of pictures which you might have collected during the course of completing your practicum. It also it would involve number of teaching aids which you might have developed to deliver a particular concept, be it a number concept or any literacy concept, that may be dolls and everything. So those concepts, all those things have to be put up as a part of the record. And for the evaluation, I would request my colleague to detail out.
For the evaluation part, there is only one thing that I would like to say, that please take the practical activities very seriously. You need to secure at least C grade in the project report as well as a C grade in the Viva. And therefore, I would say that read the practical activities properly. The steps have been outlined, and read the study material for guidance, and after that you may carry out the activities. And as I have said, that your result would be declared only when you have properly carried out the practical activities, you have submitted the practical activity report, and you have passed the Viva. So with that, we thank you.
Thank you so much.
you wish to be part of a television studio like this or any other media system, or already part of any media system, want to enhance a new set of skills? Welcome to School of Journalism and New Media Studies. Here in the School of Journalism and New Media Studies, we are offering program for all set of people to learn and enhance their media skills. The vision of School of Journalism and New Media Studies is to generate a new set of professionals in the area of media and communication studies with understanding about role of media in the national development and global understanding. We offer
पुरस्कार। हम किसी व्यक्ति विशेष को पुरस्कार कब देते हैं? जब वह कोई ऐसा काम करता है जिसके कारण जो है समाज में चेतना फैलती है, या कुछ ऐसा कारण होता है जिसके कारण उसने कुछ ऐसा काम किया है जो दूसरे लोगों से या दूसरी चीज़ों से अलग है, तब हम उसे पुरस्कृत करते हैं। 1936 में जयशंकर प्रसाद ने कहानी संग्रह लिखा। उसी की कहानी है पुरस्कार, जिस कहानी की आज मैं आपसे चर्चा करूंगी, या जो कहानी आप आज मेरे साथ पढ़ेंगे, वह कहानी है पुरस्कार। और इस कहानी के अंदर जो नायिका है मधुलिका, नायिका के राष्ट्र प्रेम और स्व प्रेम की चर्चा हम करेंगे कि किस तरीके से यह जो कहानी है, यह राष्ट्र प्रेम और स्व प्रेम से जुड़ी हुई कहानी है। किस तरीके से एक स्त्री के जो मनोभाव हैं वह किस तरीके से बदलते हैं, किस तरीके से वह कौन से भाव को वह ज़्यादा अहमियत देती है, क्या वह इन दोनों भावों में संतुलन बिठा पाती है। ऐसे ही एक नारी पात्र की आज मैं आपके सामने चर्चा करने जा रही हूँ। और उस नारी का जो इस कहानी की जो नायिका है वह है मधुलिका। अगर हम बात करते हैं राष्ट्र प्रेम की, और साहित्य जगत में अगर स्त्री का जो राष्ट्र प्रेम है, अगर हम उसकी चर्चा हम करना चाहें, तो हम देखेंगे कि एक स्त्री का जो राष्ट्र प्रेम है वह किस प्रकार से साहित्य में हमें मिलता है, और कहानियों में, उपन्यासों में, आत्मकथाओं में, कविताओं में किस तरीके से जो है स्त्रियों का जो राष्ट्र प्रेम है वह अभिव्यक्त हुआ है। तो कहानी की शुरुआत में हम देखते हैं कि एक ऐसा दृश्य जयशंकर प्रसाद ने खींचा है। हवाएं चल रही हैं, पेड़ पौधों, प्राकृतिक जो दृश्य हैं उनका अंकन जो है इस कहानी में हुआ है। आहिस्ता आहिस्ता से जो है लेखक पहुंचता है कि एक राजा है, और राजा क्या है, एक राजा के यहाँ पर कौशल नरेश की यहाँ पे बात हो रही है। यहाँ पे 3-4 जो राज्य हैं उनका जो जिक्र है इस कहानी में, मगध और कौशल नरेश, और जो नायिका है वह मधुलिका, संघमित्रा। मधुलिका के जो पिता हैं वह कौन है, वह संघमित्रा है। तो इस जो कहानी है, इस कहानी में की जो शुरुआत में दृश्य खींचा है लेखक ने कि प्राकृतिक दृश्य हैं, हवा चल रही है, इस तरीके का आकाश है, ऐसा जो है महसूस किया जा रहा है कि एक दृश्य ऐसा सा खींचा है लेखक ने। और उसके बाद जो है प्रजा दिखाई है। प्रजा जो है वह देख रही है, जय जयकार के नारे लगा रही है, और एक राजा जो है वह एक ज़मीन है कोई, उस पर जो है हल का जो है वह काम करते हुए दिखाया जा रहा है। और एक जो प्रजा जो है वह देख रही है कि कुछ जश्न मनाया जा रहा है, और वहाँ पे एक लड़की है जो है फूल फेंक रही है। आगे आगे से वह जो है जो राजा का जिसे हम कहेंगे कि रथ है या जो यात्रा जो निकल रही है या जो राजा जहाँ से जा रहा है, वहाँ पे एक लड़की जो है वो फूल फेंक रही है, राजा के साथ साथ चल रही है। यही वह लड़की है मधुलिका। और जय जयकार के नारे लगाए जा रहे हैं। मधुलिका की एक ज़मीन है और ज़मीन को जो है उस ज़मीन को क्या है कि उस ज़मीन को किस लिए, प्रजा के हित के लिए कुछ अलग अलग राजाओं के अलग अलग तरह के नियम होते हैं। उसी नियम को यहाँ पर जयशंकर प्रसाद ने दिखाया है कि आम जनता के लिए किस तरीके का जो है वह नियम था कि जो ज़मीन है उसके ऊपर जो है वह जो राज्य को दे दी जाएगी, उसके ऊपर जो कुछ ऐसी ज़मीन जिसके ऊपर रह के वह अपना गुजर बसर कर सके, वह ज़मीन जो है वह जो राजा है वह दे देता है और उस पर जो रह के वह अपना उस पर वह जो ज़मीन है वह पुण्य के लिए मानी जाती है। संघमित्रा जो नायिका के मधुलिका के पिता हैं, उन्होंने राज्य के लिए बहुत एक बार जो है राज्य की अपने विचारों से, अपनी बुद्धिमत्ता से एक बार उन्होंने राज्य की रक्षा की थी। लेकिन फिर भी जो है नियम में बंधी हुई थी। कानून होता है, कानून को तो हम बदल नहीं सकते हैं, आम जनता के लिए यही होता है। और कानून के तहत जो है मधुलिका को अपनी ज़मीन देनी पड़ रही थी, जिसके कारण उसे बहुत गहरा आघात भी था। उस ज़मीन से वह उस पे खेती करके और उसी से उसका जो है जीवन निर्वाह होता था और वह ज़मीन उसके लिए आत्मीय थी और इस कारण से उसका लगाव था। और दिखाया गया है कि आगे जाके वह उसके पेड़ के नीचे से सारा जो है वह उत्सव जो है वह हो जाता है। एक जो है नवयुवक है अरुण, वह सारी जितनी भी जो प्रजा थी या जितने भी लोग थे सब राजा को देख रहे थे, तालियां बजाई जा रही थी, एक बहुत अच्छा सा उत्सव था। लेकिन उसकी नज़र जो है वह मधुलिका पे थी। दिखाया है कि मधुलिका ने किस तरीके से सुंदर कपड़े पहने हुए हैं, कैसे हवा में जो है उसके जो वस्त्र हैं, जैसे कह रहे कि हवा में उसके वस्त्र हिल रहे हैं, ऐसे लहराता हुआ से उसके वस्त्र जो है दिखाए गए हैं, पवन उनको छू रही है और उसका सौंदर्य जो है वह चारों तरफ प्रकाशमान है। एक सुंदर सी लड़की की कल्पना यहाँ पर लेखक ने की है और उसी लड़की के सौंदर्य का वर्णन अपने शब्दों के माध्यम से कहानी में किया है। तो कहानी का एक जो है पहला जो पड़ाव है वह प्राकृतिक दृश्यों से और उसके बाद का जो दृश्य है वह जो उत्सव जो मनाया जा रहा है उसमें दूसरी कहानी के दूसरे जिसे कहेंगे दूसरे दृश्य में वह अंश दिखाया गया है और उसी के साथ साथ नायिका के सौंदर्य का चित्रण किया है। मनमोहक जो है उसका सौंदर्य मन को मोह लेने वाला, मासूमियत से भरा हुआ और एकदम निश्चलता से पवित्रता को और सहजता को लिए हुए एक लड़की का जो चित्र जो है यहाँ पे जयशंकर प्रसाद ने खींचा है। यहाँ पे हम देखते हैं कि कैसे एक अगर हम कहें कि इसकी प्रासंगिकता की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो कैसे एक स्त्री को देखा जाता है, किस तरीके की अगर आज आप कोई भी अगर हम प्रासंगिकता की अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं तो कोई भी हम कोई फिल्म उठाइए, उसमें देखिए किस तरीके का दृश्य, किस तरीके से एक स्त्री को दिखाया जाता है। एक दैहिक रूप का चित्रण भी यहाँ पे हमें स्त्री की जो हम बात करने वाले हैं कि इस नायिका का स्त्रीगत पक्ष तो कैसे उसे देखा जाता है, कैसे उसको उसके प्रति जो है दृष्टिकोण क्या है। सबसे पहले उसके रूप और यौवन को लेकर कैसी दृष्टि जो है लेखक रख रहा है समाज के सामने और वैसी ही दृष्टि हमें चारों तरफ देखने को मिलती है। उसी दृश्य को जो है लेखक ने यहाँ पर खींचा है। इस कारण से जो है एक पक्ष जो स्त्रीगत पक्ष है उसके सौंदर्य का पक्ष जिसे हम कह सकते हैं कि कैसे उसने कपड़े पहने हैं, कैसे कितनी सुंदर लग रही है। फिर तीसरा जो दृश्य है कि वह उत्सव के खत्म होने के बाद जो है वह चुपचाप जाके पेड़ के नीचे लेट जाती है उदासी से भरी हुई और दिखाया है कि उसने अपनी आंखों पे अपना हाथ रखा हुआ है, ऐसे हारी हुई सी निरस्त। उसे ये अफसोस नहीं है कि उसकी ज़मीन चली गई, उसे अफसोस ये है कि इस ज़मीन से उसकी कितनी आत्मीयता है, उसके पिता की और उसकी कितनी यादें जुड़ी हुई हैं, कैसे वह अपना जो है इस पे गुजर बसर करते रहे हैं। एक प्रेम का भाव यहाँ पे दिखाया गया है कि कैसे व्यक्ति का प्रेम अपनी जो चीज़ें होती हैं उनसे किस प्रकार से उनका प्रेम जो है जुड़ जाता है। उसके बाद वह देखती है सुबह शाम से सुबह हो जाती है, भोर का दृश्य लेखक ने खींचा है। और उसके बाद जो है अरुण जो वही उसी के बारे में जो सोच रहा था वह आता है नायिका के पास और नायिका से बात करता है कि जो है क्या हुआ, तुम दुखी हो, तुम परेशान हो। तो वह कहती है कि मैं दुखी और परेशान नहीं हूँ। हाँ, और तुम कौन हो, तुम ऐसे किस तरीके से मुझसे बात कर रहे हो। तो कहते हैं कि मैं मगध का राजकुमार हूँ और मैंने तुम्हें उत्सव में मैंने तुम्हें देखा था, तुम फूल बिखेर रही थी राजा के साथ साथ, पालकी के साथ साथ तुम उसके साथ साथ तुम जा रही थी, तब मैंने तुम्हें देखा था। तो वह जो है जो है उसको अपनी उदासी और जिसे हम कहेंगे कि जिस चीज़ को हम पसंद नहीं करते हैं, मायूसी से भरा हुआ वह जवाब देती है कि तुम क्या कहना चाहते हो। तो वह उसके सामने अपने प्रेम का इजहार करता है कि मैं तुम्हें पसंद करता हूँ, मैं तुमसे तुम मुझे अच्छी लगी। इस तरीके की जो भाषा का प्रयोग यहाँ पर लेखक ने दिखाया है। तो जो नायिका है वह उसको कुछ जो है एकदम से उसको अजीब सा महसूस होता है कि ये क्या है, राजकुमार है, मैं तो एक सामान्य सी एक किसान की एक छोटी सी एक अदनी सी एक लड़की हूँ और ये कहाँ जो है राजकुमार। तो ये मुझे इस तरीके से किस तरीके से ये जो है अपना प्रेम प्रदर्शित कर रहा है। तो वह उसको जो है वह उसको मना कर देती है। लेकिन वह जाने से पहले वह उसको बोलता है कि जो मैं तुमसे मेरा तुमसे रागा, तुम अगर चाहो तो मैं तुमसे शादी करूँगा, मैं तुम्हें वहाँ की राजकुमारी वहाँ तुम रानी बनकर राज करोगी। ऐसी ऐसी बातें फिर लेखक ने इसमें दिखाई हैं कहानी में। वह उसको उसके बाद वह चला जाता है। उसके बाद काफ़ी अरसा बीत जाता है। अपना जो मधुलिका है वह अपना जीवन यापन कर रही है और एक दिन जो तीसरा जो दृश्य है जिसमें दिखाया है कि खटखट की सी आवाज़ होती है, बाहर घोड़ों की आहट सी है और उधर जाके एक दृश्य एक कोई आता है तो वह एकदम लेटी हुई सी जो है ऐसे ही सोच रही थी कि एक कैसा था वो राजकुमार जो आया था, कैसे कैसे वो मुझसे उसने प्रेम का इजहार किया था। लंबे अरसे के बाद वह उसे याद कर रही थी, एक एक बात को उसकी को भी पीछे जाके एक एक बात को याद कर रही थी। अगर हम देखते हैं कि जब इंसान संघर्ष कर रहा होता है उस समय वह चीज़ों को उस दृष्टिकोण से नहीं देखता है और जब वह एकांत में होता है तो वह किस तरीके से सोचता है। अगर हम साहित्य में ऐसे अनेक उदाहरण इसमें भरे पड़े हैं कि कैसे जो है महिलाओं का जो दृश्य जो खींचा जाता है सोचने के लिए कि किस किस तरीके से ऐसे भी व्यक्ति सोचता है। और अगर हम बात कर रहे हैं इसी कहानी की, पुरस्कार कहानी की, तो नायिका भी सोच में पड़ी हुई है, याद कर रही है, यादों में खोई हुई है। तभी खटखट की आवाज़ होती है तो वह हैरान हो जाती है कि कोई आया, अरे ये तो वही राजकुमार है, ये यहाँ पे कैसे आया। और वह उसको कहती है कि आप यहाँ पर, अरे राजकुमार। तो कहते हैं कि हाँ, कि अंदर आ जाता है। फिर वो बात करते हैं तो कहते तुम्हारी ये हालत, तुम तो एक पूरे राज्य के जो है तुम राजकुमार हो और तुम इस हालत में हो। तो कहता है कि हाँ, मैं इसी हालत में हूँ। और अगर तुम इस हालत में हो तब भी तुम्हारे साथ ये घोड़े और ये सब क्या कर रहे हैं। तो वह कहता है कि ये सब मेरी जिम्मेवारी है। उसके साथ कुछ सैनिक भी होते हैं और वह जब उनसे पूछती है अरुण से कि ये किस सब क्या है, ये सब एक तरफ तो तुम कह रहे हो कि तुम्हारी जो हालत है वह ऐसी हो गई है और दूसरी तरफ तुम ये सैनिक और ये सब। कहते कि हाँ, मैं मगध का विद्रोही हूँ, वहाँ से मुझे विद्रोही करार मुझे दिया है और वहाँ से मुझे निकाल दिया गया है। तो कहते कि अच्छा, लेकिन तुम तो ऐसी बातें कर रहे थे उस समय, तुमको वहाँ से निकाल दिया है। तो बोले तुम ये मत सोचो कि मुझे निकाल दिया है तो मेरा सामर्थ्य खत्म हो गया है, मेरी बाजुओं की ताकत खत्म हो गई है। मैं आज भी उतना ही शक्तिशाली हूँ और मैं अपना एक जो है अलग से अपने राज्य की स्थापना करूँगा। इस तरीके से वह जो है मधुलिका से बात करता है। मधुलिका जो है उससे क्योंकि वह भी उससे कहीं ना कहीं प्रेम करने लगी थी, या उस भाव को दिखाया है लेखक ने कि कहीं ना कहीं उसकी संवेदनाएं उससे जुड़ी हुई थी। तो वह उसका आना उसे बहुत अच्छा लगता है। ऊपरी तौर पर तो वह ऐसे कहती है लेकिन उसे अंदर से उसे बहुत भाता है और वह उससे बात करती है। उसे बात करते करते उसे बहुत सी चीज़ें जो है साफ हो जाती हैं और उसे भी कहीं ना कहीं लगने लगता है कि वह भी उससे गहन प्रेम करती है। तो वह कहता है अरुण कि ये सब लोग तो मेरी जिम्मेवारी हैं और मैं ऐसे ऐसे करके, और वह फिर सपने दिखाता है। देखते हैं सब जोरबाज आज की अगर हम आधुनिकता की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो क्या कहती है कृष्णा अग्निहोत्री, लगता नहीं है दिल मेरा में, कि मैं जैसे ही जो है वकील, एक बार उसकी शादी टूट जाती है, दूसरी शादी जिससे जो वकील साहब जिससे उसका प्रेम होता है, तो वे कहती है कि मैं उनसे मिलने के लिए उनके जो उनका गेस्ट हाउस था जज साहब का, मैं गेस्ट हाउस में गई और वहाँ पे उन्होंने मेरी पसंद की अगरबत्ती लगा रखी थी। उसे मेरी एक एक पसंद का कितना ख्याल था, मैं यह देखकर भाव विभोर हो उठी। क्या लिखती है प्रभा खेतान अन्या से अनन्या में कि एक स्त्री को अच्छा लगता है फूलों से सजा हुआ कमरा और हर चीज़ करीने से सजी हुई, सहजता से कही हुई बातें, कोमलता से किया गया स्पर्श, उसे सब कुछ अच्छा लगता है। यानी कि एक स्त्री को किस यहाँ पे दिखा है कि एक स्त्री के मनोभाव को जीतने के लिए एक स्त्री को क्या कौन सी चीज़ें हैं जो उसकी संवेदना को छूती है, छोटी छोटी चीज़ों से वह खुश हो जाती है। कभी भी वह अभी जब बात की जाती है कि स्वराज्य की या स्त्री स्वतंत्रता की या स्त्री की ताकत की या उसकी मजबूती की, तो हमेशा एक बात कहा जाता है कि स्त्री का चीज़ें जो है वो छोटी छोटी चीज़ों में समेटी होती हैं। स्त्री का आज से भी अगर हम स्त्रीगत चीज़ों की बात करते हैं तो क्यों स्त्री इन सारी छोटी छोटी चीज़ों से जुड़ा हुआ महसूस करती है। हर एक जब क्या लिखती है जो इसकी जो लेखिका है अलमा कबूतरी की जो लेखिका है मैत्री पुष्पा जो है वे लिखती हैं कि जब मैंने अपने पति की स्वेटर बुनी तो मुझे लग रहा था कि एक एक स्वेटर बुनने में एक एक मैंने जो एक एक तार जो मैंने बुना उसमें मैंने उस व्यक्तित्व को बुना जिसके साथ मेरी शादी होने वाली थी। मैंने उस अपने सपने को बुना। जब मैंने मेजपोश बनाए आहिस्ता आहिस्ता से सुंदर अपने अपने हाथों से, तो उसमें जो है वो सिर्फ धागे नहीं थे, वह कहीं ना कहीं रेसे थे मेरे जीवन के, मेरे अपनेपन के। और ये जो संवेदनात्मक जो रूप है, जयशंकर प्रसाद ने स्त्री का जो संवेदनात्मक रूप है उसका चित्रण इस कहानी में किया है कि वह जो मधुलिका है वह किस तरीके से उसके प्रति, जो अरुण के प्रति कैसा भाव जो है वह महसूस कर रही है, किस तरह वह अपनी संवेदना को अंदर ही अंदर सोख रही है और कैसी अनुभूति उसकी है। अगर हम महिलाओं की के लिखे हुए की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो लिखा है कि क्या है जो कहा नहीं गया कि जो लेखिका है कुसुम अंसल कहती है जब मैंने 2 बेटियों को जन्म दिया, उसके बाद जब जैसे ही मैंने तीसरे बेटे को तीसरी बार जब मुझे बच्चा मतलब मैंने बच्चे को जन्म दिया तो तीसरी बार बेटा था, तो मेरे पति सुशील मेरे पास आए और जब वह पास आए तो मैंने उनसे कहा सुशील ने मेरी तरफ देख के मेरी आंखों में झांक के मुझसे कहा थैंक्स, और तब मुझे लगा कि मैं अपने पति को कुछ दे पाई हूँ। ये है स्त्रीगत जो संवेदनाएं हैं। क्या लिखती हैं दिनेश नंदी डालमिया, लगता नहीं है दिल मेरा में, क्या लगता नहीं है दिल मेरा में नहीं, उनकी जो आत्मकथा है यही जो है उनमें उसने क्या लिखा है, वो क्या लिख रही हैं कि जैसे ही डालमिया जी मुझे लेके गए, डालमिया जी जो है पहली बार जब उन्हें पता है कि वह शादीशुदा हैं, लेकिन वह अपनी मर्जी से डालमिया जी से शादी करती है और डालमिया जी जब उनको लेके जाते हैं ट्रेन में, और वह जो है ट्रेन में ही जो है पहली बार वह अपने पति से मिलती है और जो बताती है कि वह कैसा महसूस कर रही है कि मेरा जो जिसे हम कहेंगे कि सुहागरात का जो कमरा है वह वही बन गया, ट्रेन का वह डब्बा जिसे मैं कभी अब जो मेरी स्मृतियों में है, जिसे मैं भूल नहीं सकती हूँ। और उसके अंदर जो है डालमिया जी मेरे पास आए, किस तरीके से हमारा रागात्मक संबंध बना, और सुबह वह लिखती है कि मैंने अपनी टूटी हुई चूड़ियों को इकट्ठा करके अपनी संवेदनाओं को जोड़ा। ये जो संवेदनात्मक रूप है उसका वर्णन जयशंकर प्रसाद ने पुरस्कार कहानी में किया है। उसके बाद वह उससे कहता है, इन्हीं भावों को जो है जयशंकर प्रसाद ने वर्णित किया है कि एक स्त्री संवेदनात्मक स्तर पर चीज़ों की अनुभूति कैसे करती है, उसकी छोटी छोटी चीज़ें उसके लिए कितनी महत्वपूर्ण होती हैं। और जो बड़े साम्राज्य की जब बात आती है तो क्योंकि स्त्री का जीवन संवेदनात्मक रूप से वह है, जिसे हम कहेंगे कि स्त्री और पुरुष में संवेदनात्मक रूप से यह अंतर होता है कि संवेदनात्मक स्तर पर स्त्री पुरुष से ज़्यादा कोमल होती है, भावनात्मक रूप से वह जिसे हम कहेंगे ज़्यादा संवेदनशील होती है। इसी वजह से वह चीज़ों को इस प्रकार से अनुभव करती है। और उसके बाद अरुण जो है उसको कहता है कि जो है मैं तुमसे कुछ कहना चाहता हूँ। तो वह कहती है कि हाँ कहो। तो कहते हैं कि तुम जो है राजा, तुमको जो है मैं रानी बना के रखूँगा, लेकिन एक अलग राज्य की। अगले अगले ही 24 घंटों में क्या है, या फिर अगले आने वाला जो समय है, मैंने पूरा जो है प्लान किया हुआ है, योजना मैंने अपनी बनाई हुई है। तो तुम राजा के पास जाओ और उससे तुम्हारे पिता ने जो बलिदान दिया है, तुमने अपनी जो जमीन दी है, उसके बदले में तुम उससे कुछ मांगो। जो राजा का जो किला है उसके दक्षिण की तरफ का जो हिस्सा है वह जो है उससे वहाँ पे तुम जमीन उससे लो। और वह तैयार हो जाती है। और जब तैयार होती है तो वह जाती है राजा के पास। तो राजा के पास जाती है तो वह बात करती है कौशल नरेश से। तो वो कहते हैं कि हाँ हाँ मैंने तुम्हें पहचान लिया मधुलिका। हाँ मैंने तुम्हें कहीं देखा हुआ है। बोले हाँ बहुत दिन हो गए हैं, आपने मुझे देखा होगा। तो बोले कहाँ पर? मैंने कहा कि उत्सव में आपने मुझे देखा था। और उस समय जो है उत्सव में मैंने अच्छा तो तुम उसके बदले में जो तुमने ज़मीन दी उसके बदले में कुछ चाहती हो? बोली हाँ मैं पहले वह थोड़ा सा संकोच में वह कुछ बोल नहीं पाती है। फिर कहती है कि हाँ मुझे वहाँ पे थोड़ी सी ज़मीन दी जाए जिस पर मैं रह के अपना जीवन आसानी से मैं गुजार सकूँ। तो राजा एक बार तो मना कर देता है कि नहीं यह नियम में नहीं है, तो मैं तुमको नहीं दूंगा। लेकिन उसके बाद पता नहीं उनके दिमाग में क्या आती है कौशल नरेश के। वह कहते हैं कि किसका साथ जो है जो बीहड़ वाला जो दक्षिण का जो हिस्सा है इसे वहाँ पे ज़मीन दे दी जाए और कुछ लोग इसके साथ भेजे जाएं जो उसको अच्छे से समतल कर दे उस ज़मीन को और वहाँ से वो चीज़ें हटा दे। यह राजा उससे मंगवाता है और लिखित में उसको वह पत्र दे देता है। उसके बाद जो है वह वहाँ पर रहना शुरू करती है और अपनी चीज़ों को जो उसी प्रकार से रखती है। और एक समय ऐसा आता है कुछ ही समय के बाद जो अरुण जो है वह अपने सैनिकों के साथ जब उसको बताता है कि मैं कल जो है 24 घंटे के अंदर अंदर तुम जो है राज्य की जो है तुमको मैं महारानी बना दूंगा। ये जो पूरा जो दुर्ग है, पूरा जो किला है वह हमारे कब्जे में होगा। हमारे 100 सैनिक में जो है इसके ऊपर किस तरीके से जो है कब्जा कर लेंगे। और वह सोचती है कि थोड़ा वह कल्पनाशील होती है क्योंकि जिस इंसान से इंसान को प्रेम होता है वह उसकी हर बात को आसानी से जो है उसको वह हर बात सही भी लगती है। क्योंकि मधुलिका प्रेम में थी तो वह उसके लिए कुछ भी करने को तैयार थी। प्रेम का समर्पण कहाँ करना है कहाँ नहीं, एक विवेकशील जो यहाँ पे दिखाया है जयशंकर प्रसाद ने कि एक भावना में बह के प्रेम में आके स्त्री क्या कर सकती है। और वह जो है उसे यह नहीं पता था कि जिस राज्य में वह पली बड़ी है, जो उसका अपना राष्ट्र है, जिसके लिए उसके पिता ने इतना जो बड़ा बलिदान जो है वह दिया है, वह आज उसी के जो दुश्मन है, जिसे कहेंगे उस पर जो कब्जा करने वाले हैं, उनके साथ वह मिल गई है। क्या वह प्रेम में है और प्रेम में किस प्रकार का वह फैसला ले रही है। और वह तुरंत जो है जिसे याद आता है, एकदम से उसे याद आता है कि वह एक ऐसे पिता की पुत्री है जिसने राज्य की रक्षा के लिए अपना सर्वस्व अर्पित किया था। तो क्या यह उसके लिए सही है कि वह ये कदम उठाए। और वह रात में ही वह रास्ते के बीच वह चल पड़ती है और रास्ते के बीच में खड़ी हो जाती है। तो देखती है कि मंत्री और कुछ लोग आ रहे हैं, तो वह जैसे ही आ रहे हैं वह बीच में खड़ी हो जाती है। तो कहते कि क्या है? बोले मुझे राजा के पास ले चलो, मुझे राजा के पास ले चलो, मैं अब जो है यहाँ नहीं रहूँगी। तो बोले क्या है? बोले मुझे उन्हीं को बताना है। और वह जाती है और मंत्री और उनको लेकर जाते हैं। तो वह राजा को बताती है और मंत्रियों को भी सचेत कर दिया जाता है। और उसी प्रकार से मंत्री जो है वह 100 सैनिक उधर भेजता है कि हमारे दुर्ग में कितने सैनिक हैं? बोले 200। तो कह रहे इधर से महल पे हमला होगा। और जब राजा सोने जाने ही वाला था तो राजा के पास मंत्री भी पहुंचता है। तो कहते रहे ये अच्छा तुमको वो मिला नहीं क्या? तुम उसी से संबंधित आई हो? बोले नहीं महाराज, मैं इससे संबंधित नहीं आई हूँ, दुर्ग पे हमला होने वाला है, यही सूचना मैं देने आई हूँ। तो राजा कहते हैं कि अच्छा तुमको क्या, अरे एक बार तुम्हारे पिता ने हमारे राज्य की रक्षा की थी, आज बेटी ने भी वही किया है। तुम कितने अच्छे संस्कार और अच्छे उसकी परिवार की बेटी हो, राष्ट्र के लिए तुमने जो है इतनी बड़ी सूचना तुमने रात में आने में भी तुमने परहेज नहीं किया। तो वह जो है कहते तुमको क्या पुरस्कार चाहिए? राजा खुश होकर कहता है तुमको क्या पुरस्कार चाहिए? पुरस्कार राजा देना चाहता है, लेकिन शर्मिंदगी से और उससे मधुलिका अपना सिर झुका लेती है। जंगल के दावेदार की साली की तरह से यहाँ पर भी जो पात्र है वह एक भावनात्मक और राष्ट्र प्रेम दोनों का ही परिचय देता नजर आता है। उसके बाद सुबह में जब सुबह हो जाती है, अरुण वो सारे सैनिक बंदी बना लिए जाते हैं, दुर्ग सुरक्षित रहता है। और जब वह राजा सबके सामने देखना चाहता है कि कौन दुश्मन है, मगध का राजकुमार, विद्रोही राजकुमार, वह हमारी सत्ता को हड़पना चाहता था। और साथ में जब राजा कहता है कि मधुलिका ने जो है राज्य की रक्षा की है, अगर यह हमें समय पे सूचना नहीं देती तो यह मंजर कुछ और ही होता। वह अरुण उसकी तरफ देखता है। यहाँ पे बड़ा द्वंद्वात्मक मामला है। इस कहानी में दिखाया है कि स्त्री का एक तरफ उसका प्रेम है, एक तरफ उसका राष्ट्र है, तो वह किसको अर्पित करती हुई नजर आती है। यहाँ पे जो है किस प्रकार का भाव यहाँ पर दिखाया है कि एक स्त्री जो है वह एक ऐसा पुरुष जिसे वह अपने आप से भी ज़्यादा प्रेम कर रही है, दूसरी तरफ उसका राष्ट्र है जिसमें उसने जन्म लिया है, पली है, बड़ी है, जिसके एक ऐसे पिता की पुत्री है जो राष्ट्र के लिए जिसने अपना सर्वस्व अर्पित कर दिया। एक ऐसे पिता की पुत्री अपना क्या कर्ज अदा करती है। और राजा जब कहते हैं कि देखिए ये मधुलिका की वजह से हुआ है, तो मधुलिका मांगो, तुम्हें पुरस्कार में क्या चाहिए, क्या तुम लेना चाहती हो। तो राजा जो है जैसे उसकी मधुलिका की आंखों से झरझर आंसू बहने लगते हैं और वह चुपचाप जाके और अरुण के पास खड़ी हो जाती है। यानी कि यहीं पर जयशंकर प्रसाद ने जो है कहानी का अंत किया है कि एक स्त्री जो प्रेम और राष्ट्र पे, एक तो यानी कि स्वयं का प्रेम जिससे वह बेइंतहा प्रेम करती है, एक ऐसा पुरुष उसकी ज़िंदगी में है, दूसरी तरफ जो है वह जो है एक उसका राष्ट्र है, तो वह राष्ट्र को सर्वोपरि मानती है। और अंत में उसको वह राजा से भी अनुरोध करती है कि किस तरीके से वह उसे भी नहीं खोना चाहती है। इस तरीके का जो भाव है, यह भाव इस कहानी में दिखाया है। काफ़ी मार्मिक कहानी है जयशंकर प्रसाद की यह, और इसमें एक स्त्री के मनोभाव का ऐसा चित्र लेखक ने खींचा है जो संवेदनात्मकता के साथ साथ राष्ट्र प्रेम से भी भरा हुआ है। एक ऐसा जो दृश्य लेखक ने खींचा है कि एक स्त्री किस किस पड़ाव से गुजरती है और कैसे वह अपने संस्कारों को छोड़ नहीं पाती है, कैसे अंत तक वह तत्व, वह वजूद उसके अंदर रहता है, और एक माता पिता की परवरिश और माता पिता के संस्कारों का कैसा प्रभाव उस पे एक बच्चे पर पड़ता है। अंत में वह जो है अपने प्रेम की बजाय जो है राष्ट्र को प्राथमिकता देती है, और जब राष्ट्र को उसे हर चीज़ याद आती है और राष्ट्र को वह प्राथमिकता देती है, लेकिन जब उसे पुरस्कार जब उससे मांगा जाता है कि तुमको क्या चाहिए या तुम क्या बदले में, तुम्हें इसके बदले में तुम्हें क्या चाहिए, जब पुरस्कार की जब बात आती है तो वह भले ही वह देशद्रोही था, कुछ भी था, लेकिन उसने उससे प्रेम किया था, इसलिए वह उसका जीवन जो है राजा से मांगने की अपेक्षा रखती है। ऐसा एक दृश्य पुरस्कार कहानी के माध्यम से जयशंकर प्रसाद ने खींचा। यह जो कहानी है, यह भले ही यह कहानी जयशंकर प्रसाद ने काफ़ी वर्ष पहले लिखी हो, लेकिन इस कहानी की जो संवेदनात्मक जो स्तर है और एक स्त्री के जो मनोभाव का चित्र है, जितना जयशंकर प्रसाद ने सटीकता से, सहजता से खींचा है, वैसा दृश्य जो है वह दुर्लभ है। तो इतनी सी थी जयशंकर प्रसाद की पुरस्कार कहानी, जिसमें एक स्त्री का संवेदनात्मक और राष्ट्रीय प्रेम से ओतप्रोत चित्र खींचा गया है।
Are you a fresh graduate? Do you want to fulfill your educational aspiration by pursuing higher education in various interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary areas like environmental science, environment and occupational health, philosophy, sustainability science, folklore and culture studies? If yes, the School of Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies offers various programs like master's program, graduate program, postgraduate diploma, certificate and appreciation program. The school offers 5 master's programs. Master of Science, Environmental Science. The eligibility criteria for MSc Environmental Science is graduate in Science, BTech, BE, Agriculture graduate, Forestry graduate and Veterinary graduate. School also offers Masters in Environment and Occupational Health, Masters in Sustainability Science, Masters in Philosophy and Masters in Folklore and Culture Studies. The eligibility criteria for these 4 master's programs is graduate in any discipline. The school also offers various socially relevant and need-based PG diploma programs like PG Diploma in Sustainability Science, PG Diploma in Environment and Occupational Health, PG Diploma in Folklore and Culture Studies and PG Diploma in Migration and Diaspora Studies. The school also offers PG Certificate in Climate Change and Avshist Prabandhan mein Praman Patra. The school also offers 2 doctoral programs, PhD in Environmental Science and PhD in Interdisciplinary and Transdisciplinary Studies. The school offers various innovative technologies and multimedia for providing a very excellent student support system. The study material is of high quality. The learner support is provided through Gyan Darshan, Gyan Vani, IRC, Swayam Prabha and Swayam channel of IGNOU. For more detail, please log in to IGNOU website. For online admission in these programs, visit school site and also the Samarth online education portal of IGNOU. So please join these programs and fulfill your educational aspiration.
Dear learner, you all know about PG Diploma in Migration and Diaspora, and this is a very unique course offered by any Indian university, and in that program we will be talking about various aspects, but today's topic is India's diaspora engagement and present and future challenges. You all know Indian diaspora spread across the globe, more than 100 countries, and they are also quite significant minority in many countries, constituting more than 60%, 50% like this. You may be hearing often that many Indian origin leaders are heading many countries as prime minister, presidents and all. So today this topic I will be discussing about India's diaspora engagement policies. In fact, what are the policies Indian government initiated over time And that is very important because when you talk about globalized world, you talk about geopolitics, you talk about soft power, you talk about international relation, diaspora plays a very important role. And diaspora is not a small community, it's almost 32 million population and very powerful population who are playing important role not just in politics but also in entrepreneurship, industry and many other. You see many countries like many top corporates, you find Indian people are very successful. Google, Microsoft, any top company you take. So this topic especially I'll be covering evolution of India's diaspora policies. I'll be talking about the new global order that is emerged out of many development, cultural, political, technological and so many. Then I'll be talking about government initiatives for diaspora engagement over time since the independence to till today. Then I'll be talking about diaspora policies of state government. We have to see what are the difference between state government and central government also. Then I'll be talking about policy gaps and the future and present and future challenges. Here I'll be contextualizing Indian diaspora policy because unless we contextualize, we cannot, we don't understand why this diaspora policy came. Then, and diaspora policies of national and state level, then policy gap. Before I talk about India's diaspora engagement, let me give a historical overview so that you can relate how the diaspora is engaged with India. Broadly speaking, we have 6 phases of Indian diaspora formation, and these 6 phases are spanning more than few centuries. First phase is pre-colonial. When you talk about pre-colonial, that means before British, French and Dutch people came to India, and before that Indians have gone to many countries such as Africa, Arabian countries, even many other countries like Bali, Sumatra, Malaysia, and Sri Lanka and Myanmar, Thailand, all these places they have gone as trader and also religious preacher. Many ways they have gone, and many also gone during that time as kind of they served the business people and religious people and they went with them. So this is a pre-colonial diaspora where many of their relation with India is no more existent. Many of them settled there. If you go to Bali, you find Hinduism there. People know about how they practice Hinduism, but many of them they will not be having touch with India. So the case of many people from Thailand, Laos, Vietnam, and all you find because of the Vijay Empire, Sri Vijay Empire, they extended up to Vietnam. Many Indian culture, Indian people have gone long back before British, French and Dutch came. So this is a phase where you find Indians are culturally active, Indian culture is active, but they have no direct relation with India. We have historical evidence of various Hindus, Buddhists in many of these countries. So the next one is colonial diaspora. India was colonized by British, French and Dutch. So also they have colonized many other parts of the globe, and almost entire globe was colonized by these 3 colonies, 3 power, European power. Often it is said that sun never set in British Empire. So much so they have conquered across the globe that sun never set in British Empire. And after the abolition of slavery, these colonies was unsustainable because they need lots of labor to work in their agriculture, industries and whatever. So after the abolition of slavery, they imported Indians. Many of these are India, China and many other South Asian countries they imported to sustain their colonial economy. And many of these Indians they have gone to far away, by ship, by many of them went by on the plane also to Myanmar and other places, but many of them they have gone through ship from Calcutta, from Mumbai, from Chennai and all these places through port they have gone to far away, covering 3 months, 4 months. Many of them died to countries like Trinidad, Tobago, Suriname, Guyana, then Malaysia. You find so many countries Indians have gone, settled, and over time you can find many of them they heading the country because quite good number of people are Indian. So you can hear about Mauritius, you know, so many countries. Many countries there are more than 70% of people are from India, like Suriname, Guyana, and all this. So this page is remarkable in the sense that it's just very huge number of Indians have gone to other places, other country other than India. And this is a mass migration, and many of them settled. They never come back to India because there was no communication facility as of today, and coming by ship was expensive. So many of them settled there. Only few, very few they returned, which is very insignificant, but many have settled there. So this phase is very important when I talk about diaspora engagement. This we have to see how Indian diaspora is engaged with India. The next phase is after independence, and this after independence also there was problem of unemployment. So many challenging issues were there, and one of these important migration was brain drain, you can say, free migration of talented people not having opportunity in India. They have migrated to many advanced countries like USA, UK and all. So this is one important phase, and 1947 to up to 1970s it continued, and you find many of our top scientists and like Hargobind Khurana and many of Swaminathan, MS Swaminathan, they have gone during that time. Some of them they came back, and this is a phase where you find lots of talented Indians. They have gone abroad, mostly to UK and USA. Then the next phase is migration to West Asia. This is coincide with the oil boom. You have seen that during 1970s, the Gulf countries they explored oil. It's a massive exploration, and they don't know how to use that. So lots of labor, all semi-skilled, skilled labor went from India and settled there. You find engineers, many household workers, semi-skilled worker, road construction worker, all kinds of workers gone to GCC countries, and all these countries you find even today you find largest number of Indians are settled in West Asia. Almost 10 million, almost you can say 1/3 of total Indian diaspora is in West Asia, and this is a huge number, and largely you find people have gone to almost every state, but largely from Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and recently you find Bihar and UP have they have surpassed even Kerala with a number of people going to West Asia, and this is very important because many of them they don't have citizenship in West Asia. They will be coming back, and many have started coming back during COVID. 6 million people they have come back from West Asia to India, and these are all challenging situations because once they come back at the age of when they cannot work here properly, old age and all, this is a new challenge India is facing, and many of them they actually they have come back and they settled in old age care and all. So this is another area we can discuss. Then the next is professional migration in 90s. you all know this is another phase of brain drain, you can say. Many of these Indians from IIT, IIM and all, you find many of them, especially with the software boom, they have migrated to USA. And today you can see, as I gave example of Satyanagala, Sundar Pichai and all, and many of these, especially in Silicon Valley, which is hub of business innovation in America, it is a global place for business innovation. Many software companies are there, and large number of them are from India. And this is an innovation place where people, especially in software, you find many across the world, Chinese, Indians, and many of them, they settled there. And because of the conducive climate where American government helped them to establish enterprise, many of these startups over time became global enterprise. So over time you find Indians, the image of Indians, they have changed from coolie to very elite diaspora because of this success in Silicon Valley. Indians in UK and USA and in Silicon Valley especially, they have given a different image of Indians, and you find high income group, highly influential group, they are settled in these countries. And that is how whenever you find prime minister or any foreign minister go from India to other country, they meet diaspora, interact with them. It also facilitates lots of investment, especially you find Silicon Valley impact in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Gurgaon, because many of these industries, startups, they get support from NRI or Indian diaspora through funding, through knowledge, through network and all this. Then you find recent migration to Australia and Canada. You might be hearing Canada also. You had earlier huge migration from Punjab especially, as many farmers they went to Canada and they settled. But recently you find again there is a huge wave of migration, especially not just farmer but student also going to these countries, Australia and Canada, because these countries they have capacity to absorb more people. So many of these people are, their new destination is Canada and Australia, and many of them settled there because of citizenship rule. They give easy citizenship. You can buy Canadian citizenship by paying some money and you can settle there. Australia also very welcoming because they have very less population, huge area, almost 2.5 size of India, but population wise little more than 2 of our city, you can say. Delhi and Calcutta, Delhi, Mumbai put together will be more than even Australia population. So it's a huge country, huge resource, but very few people. So such countries are new destination for Indian people as student, as even all kinds of caregiver, driver, construction worker, farmers. So these are the new occupation here. So this is brief about how the historical formation of Indian diaspora. I'll relate now with India's diaspora policy. If we see India's diaspora policy, it is not, it's a very phase by phase, it is evolving, That's why we should talk about how it started and how it is today. The first phase is Nehruvian era, 1947 to 1962. In this era, India was not very strong because just India got independence from colonies, and it has lots of illiteracy. Literacy was only 3 to 4% that time, and unemployment and so many economic challenge and uncertainty also was there. So during this phase, diaspora engagement was very passive because we have to take care of our own home. When your home is not in order, you don't have strength, you cannot engage the diaspora. So during that time, Nehru wanted to make diaspora to adopt their country and survive there without thinking much about India and vice versa, because this is the stage they have to settle well and build that resilience. So that was call of Nehru, and that is the phase sometimes many people criticize, but this was the condition where India couldn't do much to diaspora because of its own lack of strength. Then diaspora policies in 1970s. 1970s, as I mentioned, why this is different from other policies, especially Nehruvian policy, because this is the first time you find massive migration post-independence happened to GCC countries after the oil boom. And most of them, they are not like a pre-colonial diaspora or colonial diaspora, but most of them, they have Indian passport. So today or tomorrow, they have to come back. So they had all interest within India, but they are going abroad just because they don't have employment opportunity within India. So this segment was huge, mainly from Kerala that time, and later on, as I mentioned, other states also joined hand, and many of them gone from India, many states to GCC countries. During this time, there was a call for citizenship and other facility, voting rights and all, in Kerala especially, and the government, even if you see Kerala, many government officials, they have direct link with their overseas migrant, because they constitute a huge segment, and they also contribute lots of remittance, especially remittance coming to Kerala is almost 30% of their GDP, which is a huge amount, and that sustains the economy of Kerala and feeds to many other things like education, housing, entrepreneurship, other form of development. So this is a very important area where diaspora engagement was very important in this, and I'll talk this when I'll come to state policies. So next one is during liberalization. You all know during Manmohan Singh government, liberalization started, and this was a this is a groundbreaking economic policy where foreign investors can come and invest in India, and many of them, you find 90s especially, during liberalization, all the software boom happened, IT sector in Bangalore, Hyderabad and all. So this is another, diaspora connectivity gave technological revolution in India. You find earlier also diaspora connection like MS Swaminathan, because of his plan and all, we had green revolution. Again, there is a diaspora connection, and this is IT revolution. Then followed by healthcare revolution, you find rise of corporate healthcare also. During this time, India's economy opened up, though it was late as compared to China, because China's diaspora policy, liberalization policy is little prior to India, where they opened up their economy to foreign investment and especially their diaspora. And 70% of their investment, FDI, come from their own diaspora link network. India also tried to harness, and it was very successful during 90s with the software boom, and that was one of the big success when you are still thinking America also and other countries, they are still in the very initial stage of IT revolution. India almost surpassed many other countries. So this was a revolutionary step, and which through diaspora engagement it happened. Then current policies, our Prime Minister Modi going to many other countries promoting diaspora engagement through cultural, through political, through economic engagement, and the government of India understood that soft power diplomacy is sustainable and cost effective and very long term. So that's why you find lots of policies, you can find cultural side, the emphasizing how they can link with India culturally. And this time especially the policies are different because there is no boundary here. If you see 2000 and now, the rise of social media, especially the rise of email, internet, website, social media, and also transport, all form of transport, flights, frequency of flights, ships, and all. So both transport and both websites and online presence, people became very close across the globe, and Indian diaspora became very close. You find today if there is a cricket match happening in England and India Pakistan playing, you can find some kinds of global response of Indians, so cheering for India's victory and all this. Same happening, any politics happening in India, its impact across the globe and vice versa. So this is power of social media, and this also facilitates the diaspora engagement. And this 4 phases is very important, and I'll come back again with a break now. Thank you.
We welcome you to join the bouquet of programs offered by the School of Humanities, the Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi. The Indira Gandhi National Open University, New Delhi is a mega university today. It was created by an Act of Parliament in 1985. It is the world's largest university with an enrollment of about 3.5 million current students and 3.2 million alumni. IGNOU has also been accorded the highest grade of academic excellence, A++, by the National Assessment and Accreditation Council, or the NAC. Now, during your time at IGNOU as a learner, we will help you complete your program of study with world-class printed materials, audio and video programs. We have more than 35,000 academic counselors who will guide you till you complete your program of study. We also provide live interaction with your teachers at the headquarters via teleconferencing mode, and live interactive radio counseling besides this, supported by regular TV and radio broadcasts. The School of Humanities was created in 1988, and we welcome you warmly to join any of our programs of study. IGNOU degrees, diplomas, and certificates are recognized not only in the country but are also very well received across the globe. We look forward to your journey with us, and we welcome you once again. Now we shall talk about the postgraduate diploma in American literature, and its code is PGD-AML. Now, the School of Humanities also offers 6 PG diplomas in various aspects of literature. Now, the postgraduate diploma in American literature, what it does, it sensitizes learners to different genres and aspects of American literature, such as the major American novelists and their works. Then we look at the major American dramatists. We look at the specificities of American poetry. How did it start? And we bring it up to the modern period. And lastly, we also look at something which is an integral part of the curricula in colleges and universities across the globe, which is literary theory and criticism. So we begin from classical times. We include romantic criticism, new criticism, feminist theories, deconstruction, and we come down to contemporary theories. The eligibility for the postgraduate diploma in American literature is a bachelor's degree or a higher degree from a recognized university. The medium of instruction is English. The duration is between 1 and 3 years. Your minimum period is 1 year, the maximum 3 years. And this program is offered in both the January and July cycles of admission. The fee is Rs 7,000 plus 300 rupees for registration at the time of admission. So in this particular PG diploma, we have a compulsory component, which is MEG5, Literary Theory and Criticism, and then you choose any 3 courses. So you have a choice between MEG 6 American Literature, MEG 11 American Novel, MEG 17 American Drama, or MEG 18 American Poetry. So you choose three of these, and the fourth one is your MEG 5, and you complete your PG Diploma in American Literature. Now, if you look at your screen very quickly, that is what the syllabus is comprised of, which I already told you right in the beginning. For further details on the PG Diploma in American Literature, you can log on to www.ignou.ac.in, or you can write to the program coordinator, whose details are on your screen. Now that I've given you the details of the program, I hope you enroll for it, and we will guide you through it. We will help you. We are with you every step of the way. So good luck with your program of study.
Welcome back. I was talking about the different phases of Indian diaspora formation, 6 phases, and then I was talking about evolution of India's diaspora policy. So when you compare, all this Indian diaspora is not a very monolithic, it's a very complex in terms of the skills, geographical spread, in terms of different, cultural, social, religious group, in terms of their age. In fact, many, as I told you, students and all migration, young people are migrating recent time will be different from other generation. There are generational change also. What the earlier migrant, when they migrated during colonial time, were thinking about India, and their fourth or fifth generation now, there is a lots of change. There is a change in culture, change in everything, political orientation, because many countries, as I mentioned, Indians have gone more than 100 countries. You don't find all people are in similar ideology. So there are different type of political ideology also. There are skills and knowledge, like when you talk about especially advanced countries like USA, UK and all, they take the criminal air of migrant, most talented, most you can call them brain drain. But when you compare with the Gulf, they take all form, all kinds of migrant, like semi-skilled, skilled, everything. So engaging them, we need to consider all this complexity. And also sometimes when we talk about old diaspora are more resilient, they are adapted to their host countries, and they are completely involved there. So many of these diaspora engagement will not be same as the people who are in Gulf and USA who has Indian passport, because they have direct link with India. So these complexities, keeping in this complexity and keeping the new development, diaspora policies are formed. But before I talk about some of the diaspora policies, I'll be talking a very important thing, that is the new global order, the global new order, you can say. This is pertaining to all this important area, especially when you talk about global demography, geopolitical, global conflict and crisis, migration regimes, and artificial intelligence and robotics. So all these play important role in shaping the migration for today and even in the future. Let's talk about global democracy. demography. You all know India has already surpassed China in terms of population. This is even projection because we don't count population in 2021. Sorry, every 11 years India count. So the population in December 22 has already crossed China's, and China is China's population started declining now because of their one child policy, which they enacted 30-40 years back. Now they are finding difficult because the Chinese population is declining and they need workforce to work in industries and all this. So if you see, there is only one big country, that is India, which have surplus population, and it is a very challenging situation, and also it is an opportunity in case it is managed well. So demographic side, India has both risk side and advantage side. Risk side is if you don't manage this, youth population, huge unemployed population, it will be disaster for India. And the positive side, opportunity side is if they can go to many countries. Today, if you compare, India has the largest migrant community in the world, even more than China, because China is declining, its population is declining. India's population will keep, increasing at least for next 30 years, you can say, because now the median age is around 32 or so. I'm not very 30, around 32, I think, and the diaspora size is 32 million, which is according to the Minister of External Affairs Statistics 2022. And every year 2.5 million Indians migrate out of India. Many of them also come back. So these are all, you can see the demographic side, and on the other side you find global, especially globally if we see, many countries are aging, and that means they don't have people to work, and that means they have to depend upon other countries like Europe and all, and this population will increase over time, and it will increase to 3.51 billion, in 2000. It will increase, across the globe, this aging population. And if you see this map, you see the red color, red color and pink, all this color, and the white color and all this. Mostly the global north, which is America, Europe, and the advanced countries, Japan and all this. Even China, you can see, Australia also, they are all in red color, okay, mostly red. So these countries are aging population, percentage sometimes more than, 50, 60. Japan is almost, I think, the average age is more than 50. So these countries, they are now in a demographic, you can slow down, and they are reducing their population. That means a lot actually. Old people, they need lots of care, they need lots of other support system, and that is how India, Philippines and all, you find current, migrants are mostly nurses, caregivers and all. It is not like earlier migrants who are, other profession. So this segment will increase in the future. So this is what global aging mean for India's migration and diaspora. Then you can find in aging in 2050, it will again, even India will become age, by 2050, many countries across the globe, except some African countries, most of the Asian countries also will become aging. So this is a huge problem, and we need to, as a country of huge population, our policies and plans should address that, and hence the migration is very important as safety valve. Migration from the last few decades, if you see, migration happened largely because of unemployment, and these people have prospered even after going other countries. As I mentioned already, Many became top class entrepreneur, very successful people in politics, in enterprise, in education, in every profession. So sometimes this is better for a country like India and China, where we can actually not think in terms of brain drain, but rather brain gain through networking with these talented people and expertise. The second component is geopolitics. Geopolitics you must have seen today if you go through any news and all. Many of the Western countries they are in difficult time in terms of economy, in terms of their own relation with the neighbors and all, and you find the global geopolitics mostly dominated by China, India and others. They are coming up. So future maybe the geopolitics and demography, if you combine both, India will be having very good advantage if we manage it well. And diaspora engagement policies are very important in this context. And geopolitics is very important because sometimes a war can create different kind of combination permutation. Geopolitics you have seen in Ukraine and Russia, many countries are supporting, they are also opposing. So all these things, once the Russia win this war, it will also change the geopolitics. So this is another area where we can think of how to plan our diaspora policies, especially when Indians are there in more than 100 countries, through soft power diplomacy, how the image of India, the power of India, economy of India can be enhanced through geopolitics when your diaspora is very vibrant. Then third component, which is very important when you think of a diaspora engagement, is conflict, crisis and big event. When think of big event, it abruptly change the migration flow. You have seen in Russia-Ukraine war, almost 40,000 Indians, they have come back within a month or so. It's a very precarious situation. So you cannot, if you don't plan migration policy in advance, you will have problem. Similarly, during COVID, we find almost 10 to 12 million people, they came back from abroad to India through Vande Bharat mission, Then you find big crisis like recession also. We see today, if you hear the news, almost 1 lakh Indians, they lost their job in IT sector itself. In big companies like Microsoft, Google and all, there is a historical layoff, and some of the companies they lay off more than 20%, 15%, and many of them are actually Indians. So many of them will come back. So this is again another issue which you can think of integrating with the diaspora policy. And you see 9/11, that also create lots of visa restriction where migration is restricted, not like before. People are suspected to be terrorists and all, especially the Asians. So that's also changed the policies of free migration, unsuspected migration. So then we find another important area is migration regime, which actually happened because of many factors again. So many of these destination country, as I mentioned, because of their demography, because of some local politics, because of their so many other crises, they change the migration policy from time to time, and that affect countries like India where people are largely going to other countries. So this changes the destination countries, citizenship, skills. For example, those who are migrating to Canada and Australia, they can hope that tomorrow they can be citizen and settle there. But those who are going to Gulf, they have no way they can be citizen of the Gulf countries. So they have to come back. So they have to think differently. So diaspora policy for them and for these people will be different. So then the next big thing which is happening across the technological world is robotics and AI. We have been thinking of Indians are going abroad for semi-skilled, unskilled and some skilled job. And when we talk about artificial intelligence and robotics, now many advanced countries, if you go to any shopping mall, even driving, and even any restaurant, many things, many of these jobs are taken away by robotics. You find the robots are serving you the breakfast, lunch, and everything. So the cutting of human resource, every sector is, almost construction. You find large scale machinery and robotics also. Find construction worker largely, which many Indians they go to Gulf now. Robotics is coming in a big way, and if you see the countries, many of these countries they have introduced robotics in a massive way. South Korea, Japan, Germany, Sweden, United States, Italy, almost every country they have introduced robotics, and that actually reduce the requirement of human resource, and not only reduce the human resource, it needs different type of skills to operate robot, this that. So as a country of immigration, India has to think of next generation skills, where not just in India, India also may get robotics over time in many area. You find technological revolution in all area. So new kind of skills are emerging. Otherwise, it will be difficult to survive. Like you have to see how to operate uh, when there is a large scale robotics and artificial intelligence. In those kind of economy, what kind of skills are important? So this is very important in terms of if we think a global economy, global migration. And you find it is massively increasing in all countries. United States, you can find 40% increase, okay, of robot in last few years, okay. 2011 to 16 you can find, and China has a big jump. South Korea, Germany, Japan, all these countries have made a big jump in terms of introducing robotics, and some of these countries are actually immigrant. They receive lots of immigrant. Germany is one country, then United States, they receive lots of immigrants. So you can think of the next level of skills required to go to these countries. Then who will be at risk if you see the automation, robotics are come to the workplace? If they take the work, who will be at risk? It is the working age population, the youth population. Old generation they will have less impact because they have finished their life and their traditional jobs and all they can sustain. But the people who need job, especially 20 to 24, this segment will suffer a lot unless we reskilled them and give them new skills. And if you see this kind of all this area, earlier you see before ATM came, how difficult it was to go to bank. Now things became easy. Now again you don't need to go to ATM, everything online. So many of jobs which 30 years back were employed in bank, now they are not required. Cashier, driver, translator, stocking associate, customer service representative, bookkeeper, cleaner, bartender, waiter, many of this area you find cutting of the job. So this area will be affected, and uh, you feel different type of work environment. Next few years you'll find very different type of work environment. So all this component, as I mentioned, demography, big event, crisis, war and all, geopolitics, robotics, all this will impact the global migration. It will impact the level of skills, destination countries, age and gender, and duration of migration. In fact, when you talk about duration of migration, over time what is happening, people used to go and settle. It was a permanent migration. Now people are going for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and maybe 10 years. Once their skills are not required, their job is not required, they have to come back. So this is what happening. Temporary migration will increase. Then resources of migrant, because travel, employment, this are becoming very much legalized now, very expensive also. Not all people can migrate smoothly. many migrants, you find they take a loan to go to Gulf and they get cheated also. So these are the issues we actually every day we come across, and you talk about human trafficking, human rights violation, wage theft, and many things are happening. So this context, I come to two area of policies. One is national policies, another regional policies. National policies which government of India they introduced last several years to engage diaspora, and regional policies includes the state level policy. Like some of the states you find huge number of people they are living abroad, like Kerala, Punjab. They have a separate department to deal with their own overseas population. So when you talk about national policies, especially government of India's initiative I talk, they introduce OCI card, overseas citizenship card. In this card, the diaspora people, the overseas Indian people, they can avail some preferential benefit in investment, in traveling India without any visa and all this. So these are all given some extra benefit for Indian diaspora. Then scholarship program for Indian diaspora, especially this is given to the fourth, fifth generation Indian diaspora. Those who do not know about India, they have almost lost touch, but they have the old memories which they inherit from their parents, grandparents and all. So government of India is trying to revive those diaspora relation through engaging with the fourth and fifth generation young people. Then new No India program is another, where every year you find some 50 or 100 diaspora countries students, especially the young youth, they come to India, they visit the pilgrimage places, the social activity, they know educational institute, even IGNOU also hosted once. So No India program is another program where government engage with the diaspora youth. Then Prabhasi Tirth Darshana Yojana. This is another yojana where diaspora come to India, and it is a cultural trip where they go to various pilgrimage places and see India, which they longing for long time. Then cultural connect, you have seen ICCR, Indian Council for Cultural Relation, continuously since its foundation has been engaged with cultural promotion, especially they promote Indian culture across the globe. It has missions all across the world. Then recently, very recently, we have a standing committee report 2022. It has recommended many other initiatives which government of India should do, keeping in view the new development. Then I'll be talking about, and all these Indian level policy, national policies are very effective. Sometimes it became role model for other countries, like many other new countries in Africa, in Russian countries, even other countries. They see India's diaspora engagement is very important, and they follow some of the policies in their countries. Then we have state policies, especially Punjab. If you talk about Punjab, it has NRI Affairs Department, and it has Pind Mera Shahar. So many yojanas are there by Punjab government, schemes for rural development, then health sector development, all this area, they engage, with their Punjab diaspora. And Punjab diaspora is one of the very rich diaspora you find, in Canada, Australia, across the globe, Punjabi diaspora. Then another important diaspora is, which actually the policies are very important, is state policy of Kerala. If you go to Norca Roots, there is a website called Norca Roots, which is all encompassing diaspora engagement platform. It also covers, manage migration, how to orient them through pre-departure, so various way. It also promote entrepreneurship, return migration rehabilitation, and so many other areas. It promote diaspora engagement, because Kerala, unlike many states, they have a huge population living abroad, especially in Gulf countries and even other countries. And as I mentioned, there more than 30% of their GDP comes from remittance only. So it is a huge economy and very advanced state also in terms of education and healthcare. So diaspora played a very important role. So they have covered accident insurance coverage, entrepreneurship by giving them loans and other financial benefit, so that when people are coming back to Kerala, they can start their business with their already accumulated skills, knowledge, network and wealth. They can take support from government and do their own setup. So now I'll be talking about a policy gap, present and future challenges. See, there are three areas which is very much important for India. One is skilled return migration. If you don't give conducive climate, skills also will be useless. Many people who come back from abroad to India, they get better skills because they have worked in various organizations, they acquired new skills. So once they come to India, they may not get that kind of environment. It is always there. Most people, they come to India and many also go back because sometimes they see we cannot work in this environment because our skills are not matching. So this is another area India government and state government need to work how to facilitate the skills and for the development of local economy and country also. Then another area which is very important is remittance and development. Because remittance, if recently we see by December 2022, India is the largest receiver of remittance. More than 100 billion India receives. Prime Minister Nirmala Sitharaman already mentioned that India received more than 100 billion. So this is a huge amount and it is going directly to rural area mostly and going to poor people. So it can change, it can transform the rural economy of so many states, UP, Bihar, Kerala, wherever migrants are there, and you can manage it. If you can manage it through other facilities like through promoting entrepreneurship and all, it can change India. Then there is another component which is female migration. This is as I mentioned, the aging population and other thing. The next phase of mass migration is there is a demand for female migration. You talk anything about healthcare, you talk about caregiver, you talk about household work, anything, there is over dominance of female migration, and this is one area India has to manage. So in a conclusion, I can say in conclusion, increasing diversity of Indian diaspora, demographic challenge, problem of active engagement with diaspora, futuristic plan, all we have to take into account. And our plan should be more futuristic because the demographic and other things is going to stay. As I mentioned, India will be one of the high populated country till 2050. It's a long range and we have to see how to manage the surplus human resource, people, and how to take advantage of this demographic dividend. And these are some of the reference you can read to know better about this particular diaspora engagement. And I'll conclude here. Thank you.